Thank you very much. I'm just pressing the record button and other things came up. Thank you. I'd like to thank Susie for introducing me, and to Kobe Maglin and Hag for inviting me to participate in this online event. I just wish I could see you all more than ever, because I'm in lockdown in Melbourne and I'm really interested in seeing 3D people, not 2D people. But it's great to have so many of you, and it gives us great heart that there are people out there who want to join with us in prosecuting this issue. As Age Discrimination Commissioner, with a small team of 2 and an EA, I've had to cut my coat to fit my cloth. And I've made it my priority to address 3 major manifestations of age discrimination: elder abuse in the community, age discrimination in the workplace, and older women's risk of homelessness. And in this latter area, I've had to focus again even more, and I've focused on women working, renting, with modest assets, but not enough to own a home. The image of homelessness in Australia, much less often now, but still focuses sometimes on people, sometimes mostly men, who are rough sleeping. However, as we all know, there's a hidden cohort of older women who have led what we would say are conventional lives, yet find themselves at risk of homelessness, many of them as young as 45 and others as they approach and enter retirement. My interest in this area stems from work I did some years ago with the Victorian Government. I chaired a ministerial advisory committee on homelessness with the 17 people from the homelessness sector in Victoria, which has been an incredible advantage to me now. And we were asked to, one of our major tasks was to ascertain the emerging groups experiencing homelessness. We identified young adults living out of home care and older women as the 2 key groups. In 2013, my local council, Boroondara City Council, in conjunction with Monash University, published a research paper, Local Government Research into a Hidden Issue. It was based on local research during 2011 and 2012. The paper explored the experience and issues that put single women 55 years and over at risk of homelessness. This shone a light on the issue of older women who lack resources and support for secure housing. And it was very much hidden in our area. And many people assumed there would be few, if any, women experiencing the risk of homelessness in our council area. And of course, many of these people were hidden. As I said, when I embarked on my 5-year term as Commissioner, I made older women's risk of homelessness one of my 3 key priority areas. It's a human rights issue. An adequate standard of living, including access to safe and secure housing, is a fundamental human right, covered under Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Today's event brings us all together. Hopefully, they'll all get on, and it'll be over 500 of us, to launch 2 important research reports on this very pertinent and issue. Last year, I released a paper, Older Women's Risk of Homelessness, background paper. It aimed to draw attention to and increase understanding of the hidden issue of older women at risk of homelessness, and to explore a wide range of flexible, innovative solutions. Now, I don't need to tell you that the number of homeless women in Australia increased by over 30% from just 2011 to 2016, just one census time apart. We have an ageing population, a high cost of housing, a significant gap in wealth accumulation between men and women across their lifetimes. Older women often experience homelessness for the first time in later life, after working and often raising a family. Innovative solutions are needed to prevent them from becoming homeless. Without these, the problem will only continue to increase. And the solutions have to take into account the range of circumstances of the women in question, from their assets, their age, their income, their capacity to continue working, through to their housing requirements and their preferences, which are often neglected, and other responsibilities they may have. This means that there'll be different cohorts of women with different needs for different sorts of accommodation. The aim must be to enhance women's housing and economic security across the remainder of their working lives and through retirement. It is a complex problem, and it requires a plethora of solutions. So I take this opportunity to encourage you, and those of you participating today, to consider a range of policy options. As I said, while I'm concerned about all older women who are at risk of homelessness, but given the resources, I'm focusing on exploring preventative solutions to assist a cohort of women who are renting, working, and have modest assets. Some of these women may despair of ever owning a home, And given the length of time it takes older workers, especially women, if they lose their job, to find alternative employment, they may use these limited resources and run them down to keep a roof over their heads. As I've mentioned, and we will continue to discuss today, older women's risk of homelessness is generally hidden, and this cohort often seems to fall between the stools. They've never had any contact with DSS. They've never had any contact with any agency that helps women who are homeless. Local government, state and federal government all have a role to play, along with the community and business sectors, in working together to find innovative and flexible solutions to this complex problem. One example of a potential model I've been exploring with relevant stakeholders is that of shared equity. If we are able to use the assets of these women who have and reduce the likelihood of them running down their assets to keep a roof over their heads, we'll reduce the likelihood of them, and it may only be a small group, but of those people increasing the ever-increasing demand for social housing. Moving on to the current challenging context facing us while data continues to emerge, COVID-19 is also adversely impacting housing security across all age groups, but also particularly older women. Older women who were, before the pandemic, renting in insecure employment with minimal, if any, superannuation, and who were just one setback, such as illness, job loss, addiction, or relationship breakdown, away from being homeless. Addressing older women's risk of homelessness must be a priority within the broader response to the pressures on homelessness and housing affordability being exacerbated by COVID-19. We need a reset switch and to try some new and innovative policy solutions. Amongst this audience, there are so many creative projects. I know Robert Pradelin is with us today, and he, with his development background in property development and business, is using unused buildings to provide temporary accommodation for women. The Brisbane Housing Corporation, I think, is the first in Australia to have built its own retirement village. And I know there are a host more creative ideas and projects completed and in the pipeline, too many of them to mention today. I thank those of you participating today for all your work in this area. You are well placed to be the change makers. In the SVA summary, it says, "At risk of homelessness is not a minor matter. Let's make sure this is seen as a major matter by those who can make a difference. Every one of those women facing the risk of homelessness is depending on each and every one of us today." Thank you.
Kay, thank you very much for your remarkable address there and the very personal as well as political calls to action for what change we can collectively seek and drive.